with John McMullen. We are your Mac First 365 guys. Happy to be adding Zach Berman for the next 15, 20 minutes to give us some Eagle insight. Zach, thanks for jumping in. You had the Eagles 11-1 after 12 games, right?
Hey, good morning. I did not have them 11-1. Did not anticipate this type of start, but credit to them because they've earned it, right? They're not lucking in the wins. They are beating teams and beating them convincingly.
Yeah, well, let's start there, Zach, because you have sort of something going on tonight, so we'll talk about that. But you're going to have a sort of holiday shopping, gift-giving. Ray Ginger, you, Mike Sealski, going to be out in Bridgeport, Pennsylvania tonight. Your book, Underdogs, we've talked about in the past. You were with this team through the Super Bowl run. You're with the team now. I got to tell you, from my perspective, doesn't guarantee anything at 11-1, but this team's better than the Super Bowl team. I feel comfortable saying that. I want to get your opinion on that.
That's a good point, John. I agree. This team's more talented. I think that across the board, they're just deeper. Where I would say along the lines of scrimmage, I would give the in particular the offensive line. I would probably give the the 2017 team the edge. I mean, you had Brandon Brooks playing at an All-Pro level. You had Lane Johnson. He's playing an All-Pro level now, but he was then as well. Questions at left tackle. Jason Kelsey was younger, but honestly, the 2022 team, I just think is better. It's deeper. It's more explosive. They have a better secondary. They have they have better weapons on offense. So, and with the way Jalen Hurts is playing, Carson was outstanding in 2017.
Yeah.
And then Nick Foles had 2 weeks of his life, right, in the championship game in the Super Bowl. But what Jalen is doing this year is incredible. But the variable is that 2017 team played great in big games, right? In the NFC Championship game, in the Super Bowl, they were there. They were loose. The moment wasn't too big for them. And we simply don't know yet how this team's going to be in those moments.
Zach, John, and I sat here after the Commanders' loss and the news that Dallas Goedert was going to IR for 4 weeks. They have the game in Indianapolis where they have to rally 2 late touchdowns just to sneak out a win. And we were wringing our hands about, oh, my God, how are they going to replace Dallas Goedert? They can't afford to lose. He's too big a piece of the offense. And then the next 2 weeks, they put up 75 points. So I guess they figured out a way how to somehow replace Dallas Goedert. Who should get the credit for that?
Well, the credit goes around. I mean, you have to look at Howie Roseman for putting this roster together. You have to look at Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and Brian Johnson and Jeff Stoutland, the offensive coaching staff of that. But most importantly, the players. Because what I think this offense does exceedingly well is it's the versatility and the ability to be matchup dependent. I've covered, John's covered, you guys, and you too, Jody, have seen a lot of coaches who they say, this is the way we're going to play, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is, right? What the Eagles do is they look at the opponent and they adjust what they do based on that opponent. That's how they can run for 360-plus yards last week and then throw for 380 yards this week. And I frame it that way because the offense is not built around one player. When Dallas Goedert goes down, if AJ Brown were to go down, especially if Jalen Hurts were to go down, things would fundamentally change, and things have changed without Goedert. But the offense is not dependent on Goedert the same way. It's not dependent really on anyone else except Jalen Hurts and perhaps Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, I've always said, Zach, that to me, this team has morphed into not a run first team, not a pass first team, but a Jalen Hurts first team.
Well said.
And to me, when you talk about 363 on the ground against Green Bay, 380, and remember, they pulled the plug. Mercy rule at 9:40 left in the game with Jalen Hurts at 380. You got to go back to 1987, the Raiders, to find a team who's done that. it's kind of historic versatility, the ability to toggle back and forth. And I think it's the quarter. I think it's everything. I think it's the quarterback. I think it's the offensive line. I think it's the coaching staff. But if I were to pin you down and say what is the biggest part of it, or something else, if you want to throw it out there, the biggest part of that ability, what would you say that is?
Well, the biggest part of the ability is Jalen Hurts, because the variable that he provides, the ability he provides in the running game, and then the way he's progressed as a passer this year, it's built around him. The fact that they're able to do it, or the willingness to do it, that goes to the coaching staff, because I can't emphasize the point I made previously enough. So many coaches say this is our offense, right? And you have to stop us. Right. And it's almost like an offensive driver versus a defensive driver. Okay. The Eagles are the type of driver who's looking at everyone else on the road, and then they're going to know to adjust to what the other cars are doing. And not every coach is like that. And this is a coaching staff on both sides of the ball, by the way, that will rebuild or reconfigure their game plan each week depending on the opponent. So Jalen Hurts is the reason why they're able to do it, but the reason that they do it is the coaching staff.
Over the last month, Zach, the Eagles have had 3 pretty significant injuries, not season-ending, and no, Robert Quinn is not one that I'm referring to here, John. First, Maddox goes down, then Goddard goes down, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes down. With Maddox, Josiah Scott stepped in, made some nice plays, made some bad plays. They'll be glad to get Maddox back this week. Goddard coming back next week. We all just agreed it's kind of a combination effort as to how they've been able to replace him. Chauncey Gardner, Reed Blankenship has stepped in and played pretty well. He made the one bad play against Christian Watson of the Packers, bad angle, off to the races, 60-yard touchdown. But other than that, I thought he's actually opened up some people's eyes. When Gardner comes back, does Blankenship go back to his special teams only role, or has he done enough in your eyes to merit being part of a mix? I know they don't usually rotate in the defensive backfield. Will they do that going forward?
No, that would be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's spot. And Blankenship has, I give him credit. He has done well in the past 2 games here. Now the offenses they've seen are not teams that have really tested the deep middle of the field, and you saw the Packers do that a bit in the second half. Blankenship, I don't. He's done well, and I give him credit there. You saw where the Titans' production was coming in the passing game, and they didn't have a lot of production, but it was coming from the rookie tight end, right? And I would imagine that as the Eagles go forward here without Gardner Johnson, I think teams are going to challenge them in the middle of the field, in the middle and deep middle of the field, and try to see if the Eagles safeties can hang with them there. Chauncey Gardner Johnson he's so opportunistic on the ball as we've seen, and he can cover. And there are times when he's been out of position this year, and his playmaking ability has allowed him to compensate for it. But I do think that in these next 3 weeks, that's where defenses are going to try to attack the Eagles, and we'll see how Blankenship and Epps do in that spot.
Well, let's talk about that defense, Zach, because it has been impressive. Every measurable number now, number 1 against the pass, number 2 overall, the second best generating pressure, the best generating turnovers. I start with the 2 outside corners. They are having phenomenal years in the fact that the worst passer rating for a starting quarterback in this league is Davis Mills in Houston, about 79-ish, somewhere in that range. The worst completion percentage is Marcus Mariota. It's about over 61%. Bradbury's allowing a 44 completion percentage. Slay's at 50. Their passer rating when targeted is down 25 and 35 points lower than Davis Mills. If you were to start, same question on the offense, if you were to start, what is the key to the defense? Normally I look at the defensive line. I'm a Jim Schwartz guy. It's the engine. But I think it's these corners, Zach. They've been unbelievable.
That's a good way of putting it. The corners have been unbelievable, and certainly in the passing game, that's been a difference, and it's allowed them. You asked a good question again, and yesterday it allows the Eagles to play a certain way when you have two corners that you can trust on the outside. And I mean, this is no disrespect to Steve Nelson, but the delta between Nelson last year and Bradbury this year is significant. It's affected the way they've played defense. So yeah, I think the corners are a big part of it. I still go to the front, right? And because you need to get to the quarterback on known passing situations, as Jonathan Gannon calls it, on passing downs. And the Eagles are number 2 in the NFL in sacks this year, right? And I keep going back to what Jonathan Gannon said before the season, where the 2 areas that they wanted to improve from last year, were takeaways and affecting the quarterback. Number 1 in the league in takeaways, number 2 in sacks. It's not a coincidence, and it hasn't happened in the way that Buddy Ryan defenses looked or Jim Johnson defenses looked, but it's been more effective than any defense here in a long time, and it's a credit to Gannon. It's a credit to these players.
All right, Zach, the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago against the Packers, you check the rankings, ratings of the team before they come in. All right, you should be able to run the ball against the Packers. They did it for 360 yards. This week, Tennessee's pretty good at stopping the run. Maybe we should try and pass it. They do so to the tune of 380 yards. The Giants' defense isn't great either way. There isn't a big gap between their ability to stop the run or stop the pass because they're not really good against either one. Shane Steichen just gets to make it up as he goes along. Is there a specific direction the Eagles offense you think will go this week, or do we just have to wait till Sunday and see which one, flipping the coin, Shane comes out with?
Yeah, to me, it's not focusing on the run or the pass. It's focusing on blitz beaters, right? What you're trying to do is have an offense that has answers for the blitz. So whether that is your max protecting and you're going downfield, whether it's having quick outlets for Jalen to get the ball out of Jalen's hands quickly, or whether it's trying to get Jalen on the move so when that blitz comes, he could potentially take off. I don't have the answer for you. Shane Steichen has forgotten more offensive football than I know. But I think that the focus this week, when they're in those meeting rooms, it's going to say we need to have an answer every time they blitz. There should not be a time when we're taken aback by the blitz, because they know going into the game the Giants are coming after them.
Yeah, Wink is going to blitz coming off the buses, Zach. Yep. The Eagles fans would love Wink Martindale, even though they have the number 2 defense and the number 1 passing defense and the number 1 turnover defense. They don't do it the right way. Who has been doing it the right way, and that's facetious, obviously. Only some in the fan base think that, but nonetheless, it's there. Jalen Hurts, the most impressive thing about me and Jalen Hurts, and I want to run this by you, is his ability to take shot plays. And I asked Shane this yesterday. His ability to take shot plays but not turn the football over. That is rare. That's like Aaron Rodgers territory, Zach. I didn't see this coming. You have 40-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown, 34 to Devonta Smith. I think it was 29 also to A.J. These are shot plays in the NFL. And he doesn't turn it over. Usually you're being aggressive when you're taking those shot plays. Jalen Hurts has thrown 3 interceptions. What do you attribute that to?
I attribute it just to Jalen's progression, right? This is a credit to Jalen. I didn't see it coming either. I didn't see Jalen having this type of effectiveness in the passing game. I think part of it is he's having his receivers, AJ in particular, are making plays on the ball, but Jalen is keeping the ball out of harm's way. And by the way, if you go back and you look at his college numbers, he wasn't a turnover-prone quarterback in college, right? Yeah. And if you look at Jalen last year and Jalen, even the times he played as a rookie, passing efficiency was a question, right? The ball was on the ground too much, but the ball wasn't in the other team's hands too often. And so I'm not surprised by how well he's taking care of the ball. There's the coach's son adage there, right? He knows the value of that. But what I'm surprised about is how often the ball is landing in the Eagles' hands, because he has not been this efficient throughout his career, and he is this season. Excuse me.
All right, Zach, last one for me. Fill in the blank. Both blanks, if you'd be so kind. We'll pick whichever blank you want to fill in. The Eagles are now 12-1 after Sunday game against Giants because they did this, or yeah, that's the NFC East for you. You never know when you're going to get picked off, and the Eagles fall to 11-2 because the Giants did that. Pick whichever one you think is more fitting for the game this Sunday against New York, against Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Eagles are 12-1 because they're the better team, and B, they're going to take care of the ball. If you look at the games when the Eagles have blown out teams or beaten teams handily, and the games when it might have been a little too close for comfort, the only variable there is turnovers, right? If the Eagles take care of the ball, then they're a better team than the Giants. And I know the Giants are well coached. The Giants have a record that's frankly better than I anticipated. But if the Eagles simply play the brand of football they've been playing this year, they will win this game and win this game handedly.
Zach, do us a favor. Give us the details on your gathering, your pre-holiday, all you tremendous authors and scribes getting together out in Bridgeport tonight. I know your fearless leader, my buddy Glenn Macklin, not going to be there. He, a little under the weather. He caught COVID this week. And sure enough, I was out with him last Wednesday night. He had to tell me, you better get yourself checkmate. Yeah, I got no problem. Yeah. I stayed on the other side of the table while we drank beers together. So no Mac now tonight, but you've got good guys sitting out with you. Give us the details on tonight's book signing.
Yeah, appreciate you asking. Puddler's Pub in Bridgeport. You see Underdogs behind my shoulder here. I'll be selling and signing Underdogs, the Philadelphia Eagles' emotional road to Super Bowl victory. Ray Didinger, Mike Sealski, Leslie Van Arsdale. There's going to be merchandise there. There's everything you need for your holiday shopping and good beer, good food as well. So Puddler's Pub in Bridgeport, 6:30. Look forward to seeing as many of you as possible.
I was out at Puddler's Pub with you guys when they had the Maryland Mike IPA launch a couple months ago. It was a good spot, fun time. Have a good time tonight.
Long day for Zach. I'll see you down at the NovaCare.
I'll see you down there. Thanks for having me on.
Well, long day. Zach. Wait, it's a walkthrough Wednesday. You guys aren't working, are you? I guess you got to go. I guess that counts for McMullen. Probably work as hard as the Eagles will when he goes down there, but it'll be close somewhere there by walkthroughs. Love those walkthroughs. All right, thanks Zach Berman for hopping in with us. John McMullen Jody McDonald, your Mac and Mac guys. Hour number 2, we'll go a little bit more of a national attention span. Rob Motti, who is a Philadelphian through and through, you know it. He's covering the entire NFL these days for the Associated Press, but don't kid yourself. He's always got an eye on the Eagles. We haven't had Motti Man up in about a month, so we'll punch him up in hour number 2. Come back, probably talk a little bit more about the Giants, who got off to a 6-1 start, and all of a sudden they're 7-4-1. They've kind of come back to the pack. It's
by the way, I have a question for you, Jody, after the break. I've been inundated this week about the turf at MetLife Stadium. I want to know if the Jets complain about it, because everybody seems to be complaining about it. The turf at MetLife Stadium.
Not great. It's a legit complaint, but depending on how far you take it, it can be overblown. Okay, that's another thing that we'll talk about because, the Eagles are going to be on that turf at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. Eagles, Giants, McMullen and McDonald looking ahead next year on Birds 365.